Hello, everyone. Ombute Devi here. I'm in a different location in my space. Hopefully, you can see me okay. I'm packing up my goddess cave, as I call it, because I'm heading back to the Central Coast in California this week. And so my place is a little messy. Um, I wanted to continue for anyone that is new here coming by my channel. I am exploring a new way of being in communication. Usually, I just work one-on-one with an individual. Just being able to see what they're not able to see in their own field. We sort of sitting in our own field, so it's hard to see all the time. So when we're working through a particular challenge or when we are really needing some more clarity or grounding or confirmation of where we are, or just help with clearing some discords in our field, um, by seeing what is yours and what is not yours, so to speak, what is your truth and what is not your truth, and what's entangled in those relations that might um, just need some um, I'm looking for the right word here. That's needing to be acknowledged for what it is. Um, Sometimes we are in self-delusion, and so it's good when we can get through that delusion. Um, and and now I know that there's this understanding that there's illusions and delusions, right? So when we talk about illusions, like everything is an illusion. There's yes and there's no. There's times when we're sitting and we're saying it's all an illusion, and sometimes we're sitting in a place where we do not have self-agency, and so we are not able to take responsibility for ourselves. And so we can use those terms in a way that really doesn't serve us and doesn't really help our empowerment. Um, yeah. But the coming back to what I do one-on-one is just to help navigate those territories and be able to witness a person, witness you as you are navigating it and helping you just with a little bit seeing the perspective. Yeah, I have a fly swat here because there's flies here, and I just need to fly. I don't have a tail, a noticeable tail, so I just swat around. Anyways, so back to this. So I wanted them to come in onto this channel, my old channel, to see if I can tap into when I'm not with a person and just tap into the field. When I say the collective heart field that I have just been holding a lot of space for in my own life and building coherence and alignment with that consciousness that is really, it's a consciousness that is ancient, it's always here, it's part of source, but it's a consciousness that has not been fully integrated and embodied um, in a way that is empowering and is integral and useful for us. And I say us, individuals that are really leading with a compassionate heart, that are really leading with integrity and empathy and courageous creativity. I say courageous creativity that is really looking to evolve and not so much from, like progress at all cost, but there's another word here instead of progress. Um, but I can't find it. It has to do with creation and to evolve in a way that is still connected to the spirit of the human heart. Um, so that's what I've been doing. It seems like when I was connecting, I was just wanting to connect with the field. I wanted to see if I could connect with a particular perspective that was useful for anyone sitting in a place where they might need some guidance, where I might need some guidance. So was what was started it. I really wanted to experience a shift in one-on-one and see what it is that if I can connect through this medium with something that is a little bit more general and but it's not general. I say that, and it's not general because I see that, I've been tapping into a consciousness that has been quite informative for me. And so I invoke just my own space to open up space for the communication. And I also use angel cards. So I use what I've been using for a long, long time in my life. I use angel cards, oracle cards, tarot cards, rune cards. I work with the pendulum. I work with symbolic symbolism, seeing. I work with sound. I work with mantras. I work. Yeah, there's so there, and of course, and the bodies. With and just to as to use as a conversation, to use as dialogue. Light language comes through, um, and so yeah, there's so much that is waking up in the memory of so many of us, and so we're coming through that, and it's more so that we can instill a communication that it bypasses the sort of superficial mind, because I think for me, my mind has been really um, uh, uh, affected by being in the collective consciousness, sitting in that lower frequency of a lot of control, a lot of fear, a lot of non-integrity, a lot of division, a lot of uh, the violation, and so my mind has been in a coping, has been stuck in trauma patterns, in these thought patterns that comes from trauma, and so haven't been able to release a lot of those patterns. So I think for me, working in a different um, consciousness, in a different way of expressing the consciousness, that's really that we are cultivating by coming into our goodness, that we are cultivating the coming into our body, heart, and most times like what happens is it's so hard sometimes to come in and open up the heart, open up the felt body, the felt sense because of trauma, because of what has not been digested yet. And so it's like but the only way, to get through it, to come to through freedom is to get through it. But we can get through it in a way that empowers us and not reactivate some of these harder places that we have been in, that we have been experiencing. So that's why working with these uh, non-linear communication um, languages that really speaks to a deeper inherent knowing in all of us. We sometimes don't know why, but there's something that's moving in us. There's something that is coming through us that's waking up because there's a sound, there's a way, there's a frequency, there's a way that the information is transmitted through these ways of communicating that can open up your own flow in your own body and communication and open you up to to greater access and your intuitive body for your own clarity and direction. And yeah, so having said that, I would just really love that we are in a place now that we are open to explore this with less sort of like I need proof of science and proof, because science have goes hand in hand, and we have been able to measure and understand certain levels of intelligence through measuring frequencies, measuring the effect of these frequencies on our bodies and in our environment, and also knowing that we can affect through bringing in different, putting our attention onto different frequencies, different words, different feelings. We can affect our whole overall biology to come into a state that has a resonance that is really high and really open up our intuitive intelligence. And so we know there's so much that we can do to help ourselves coming into that and be more empowered by that. So I'm just going to open up the space. I usually just say a prayer, and it's my will is thy will, and thy will is my will. And I ask to surrender my ignorance and my arrogance for my deepest healing and my highest love. Um, and so for this communication, I also want to clear any discords in the past, the future, and in the present that is in the field, anyone and anything that is coming through this field, that is relating with this field, that is listening or sensing anything from this field, that it is a clear plate. Um, and anything that is not of unconditional love, not aligned with the unconditional love, that is not desiring to be an expression of unconditional love, I will command you to go back to your source. And if you are in deep desire to come into unconditional love, you are welcomed here, of course. Um, and again, just to be able to define, the languages that I use, that define the words, how I use it, because a word can mean so many different things. So when I say unconditional love, it is, it is an intelligence that is all inclusive. And it only relates to the present moment for everyone's benefit, for everyone's benefit. So that's the unconditional love that I'm speaking with, that there's a high level of consciousness. It's the highest level of consciousness. Um, and so it takes me a while, sometimes to I sort of walk myself into the conversation, into the field. More and more of me comes into, that place of seeing. Um, and anyone can do this. You just have to be still enough, um, again, because all the dimensions of conversation, all the dimensions of our consciousness of are within us. Um, and when we are still enough, sooner or later, you can look at anything, you can put your attention on anything, and if you're still enough, you go through the layers. More and more and more and more starts to open up. Even the smallest, the subtlest things opens up. Everything can be a portal. People say, "Oh, the special portals here and there." Yes, there are, but anything is a portal because you are. And so, if you put your attention on anything, you can you what it is that you come back, you connect to the essence of who you are, what you are. And then nothing is separate. So if you stay long enough, and that's the thing, because we have so much static on the line, and it's not only um, the psychological static, but it is the physical static, all right? So the physical body, and it takes longer, because we are using a physical, element, these other elements to actually conduct, to walk this consciousness through this elemental, this form. So it sometimes, when there's a lot of stuff in the physical, um, again, rest the resting point. You have to find your resting point, and the more you cultivate your resting point, where you can sit, where your breath is just naturally open and deep and full, and in your unique rhythm for you. Um, so before I take an angel card, oh gosh, this fly, right? I just wanted to really get my toes into the to lake of my universe, into the deep lake, the the wisdom stream. I'm saying, there's a wisdom stream in all of us, and so I just wanted to get my feet wet into it. Um, See if there's anything today that I can share, that I can reflect on. Okay, I'm gonna take a card now. So I just love these angel cards because it invokes, opens up the conversation. And I try not to hang on to the previous posts, but it seems like I'm picking up a thread. But we'll see if that happens today. Um, all right, let's see here. What is this? Tenderness. Tenderness. So there's an angel petting a cat, petting a cat. So whatever this invokes in you, I always say, like, what is that? If there's anything that connects with you with this word, with the feeling that this word might be soliciting in or in you or elicit, what's the word? Yeah, activating in you. Um, I always, it's always interesting why I get, yeah, why we get certain experiences from a card. All right, tenderness. Hmm, tenderness. Yeah, yeah. So there's something about the cat, when we pet a cat, it's different than petting a dog. A dog is it feels like it's more like firm, stable. It's just it's the cat is more fluid, like it's so you don't, like a dog you can like pet like this good boy kind of thing, right? A cat, it's not always that you can do that. I mean, some cats you go up in the back rump, they like that can be something that you can do with your cat, but most times you approach with very tenderness. So you're asking, so with your touch you're asking. The communication is always asking for permission. It's always sort of like consensual, consent. You have to consent. Like, can I pet you? Consent, 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 because you're actually touching another being. You're in another being's field, and it's consent. And it's like, I want to love on you. I want to acknowledge you with this touch. And there's a tenderness because the reason why we are in form is because we want to feel. We want to feel what it feels like to touch form. We want to feel the sensation of the fur, that luxurious fur. We want to feel the movement underneath our hands when we're touching. We want to feel the vibration of the purring of the cat. We feel it. It's like, oh, we hear it, but we also feel it. And there's this feeling about it. It's the motor. So when we hear it, there's a few animal. I mean, everyone purrs. Everyone purrs. People purr. We all purr. And the more the deeper we go into relaxation, the deeper we go into our own oh, so resonance. So we all have a resonance. Like a frequency. Like our body has a frequency. Our biology has a frequency that we can measure. Um, the planet has a frequency that we can measure. I think it's like 7.48 hertz or something like that, or seven or something. Almost. We are around the same, depending on what we're doing. But still, there's a particular set point, and our joy point when we are feeling satiated in our joy, when we are feeling satiated in our intimacy, when there's that like an experience of our own intimacy being like loved and acknowledged, there is a frequency that comes up. There's a separate, and that is the purring. And so we can purr in a different way. We might come into a spontaneous humming. If we're we can, there could be some hum. All of a sudden, we just find ourselves humming. That's a purr. We can find ourselves even like movement, swaying is a purr, because purring is a frequency that is then expressed in our physiology and through sound, through so cats, their purring is so uh, uh, evident in the sense of like we feel it, there's a sound to it. We can see how we know that when they purr, they're, the cats are, happy and content and feeling good, as opposed to when they're stressed and, afraid or something, then they don't purr, right? So it's the same with us. We have associated purring with something that is good. Okay, why are we talking about all of this? Because there's a tenderness. So we are looking for, so tenderness, how we are establishing tenderness, our relationship with tenderness as far as touch. That that we're invited to explore the tenderness in through touch. That's a very practical and very, physical way that we can be tender with each other, right? So how can we be tender with our loved ones? How can we, by consent, permission, say, what is it that I can, do for you to show tenderness? What makes you purr, right? What makes you purr? And that we, and it's a very different way, because these days we don't touch each other. It's like, it's almost like we have to touch each other, and it's transactional. Our touch these days, I mean, it's transactional with the way of like, I want to get something out of this, like especially when we're talking about intimacy and sexual relations, it's almost like, why are you touching me? Are you wanting something? This is not leading to that, kind of, it's like there's we have made touch a very, very, we kind of taken the spirit out of touch. We've taken the real sort of love making tenderness like out of touch, because it's almost like it needs to uh, there's an expectation that's attached and associated to it. And if we can, so I guess if I can say this, if purring is the only expectations we are wanting, like I just want to make you purr. That's all. Like as we touching each other, like when we touch a cat, we look at them, we want to see them purr, and then we feel good. Oh, I made the cat purr. Oh, so the cat is feeling good. So if we can have sort of that mentality when we're touching each other, when we're comforting each other, I just want to make you purr. Now, bringing it back to ourselves, if we do that, and if we understand that when someone touches you, that oh, there that we have the same sort of boundaries around that. Like, there's ways that I will purr, and there's ways that I will absolutely not purr, you know? So, and that you understand that about yourself, and and you can, and sometimes we don't know, like we don't know. It's like, okay, and let's see if you touch me this way, and if you touch me in this place, and if you touch me in this place in this way, with your heart open and your breath full, oh, then maybe that's when I will purr. That's where the connection will like link up and feel, oh, that's when my purring will start. Because we all are having to feel there's such a complex there's symphony of things that comes into alignment that has to do with being open in your heart, being present in the body, listening so that there's consent. And it's not like, so after a while, you listen with your hand, you listen with the energy, you know when to back off, when to come in, when to, so there is this communication through that tenderness that surpasses the mental stuff, and you can explore a whole new relation with yourself and with others. So you can even practice on, excuse me, practice on yourself what it feels like to touch yourself in different places where and see what it feels like and listen because your body will tell you. Your body will tell you what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and then just observe what's coming through the mental structure because there's obviously that's going to play into it all. And if we can just be a little soft around that, so that you have some spaciousness to explore. Um, Now, why this is a really, it seems like it's such a random topic, and it is not because it is a muscle. It is part of a consciousness that has a muscle and that has atrophied so much in our culture that because we have lost the tenderness touch, we have lost that, and so it's not only physical, it's layered, of course, but for some reason I want to really talk about just the physical application to start there instead of so we're walking from the outside in instead of from the inside out right now because there's different ways on how to approach this, and right now I'm seeing the conversation just really wanting to speak on how practically we can do these very subtle practices and it's all about communicating with each other, with ourselves, knowing, expanding our own uh, 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 spectrum or and band like our own that body of tenderness so that our felt body can open up and receive tenderness because sometimes we have shut down so much of us because we've come into this category of like either you get touched and it's a punishment or it's a violation it's associated with pain or guilt or shame or is touch that it's just like asking for something that you might not want to respond to or is able to give, but there's so it's just it has but there's so its spectrum is so large of different ways, those different nuances of coming into tenderness touch with yourself and others, that there's a vast landscape in that way of communicating that can open up and activate vitality and flow, sensuality. And when we talk about sensuality, if your scope of sensuality, if it has shrunk, if it's contracted, perhaps this is a way to open it up a little bit because the more of that body, the body of your senses opens up and it benefits your for being able to access your own intelligence. And so, and why is that important? Why is that important? So if I can put it this way, when people talk about, okay, we are all, it's the big time of awakening. We are awakening. We are awakening. I really want to talk about what that is in this context. That is what we are awakening. We are awakening our technology, which is our biology, which is in our body. Our body is the form of the biology, is the result of the biology. The biology is holding this form in its place. It's the and and our consciousness has made this, like this biology is like the highest expression of our consciousness, in that sense when it comes to form, right? And so if our consciousness is unlimited, our biology is unlimited, but what has happened to our biology as a technology is that it's contracted. It has contracted. We're not using it to its fullest extent at this moment in time. And so I'm talking about awakening. And this might feel or sound very strange because we think about, oh, awakening, like we're opening up the crown chakra and all the light coming down and all these downloads and thoughts and whatever. And, we've had downloads forever. We have downloads and downloads and that. But what is it? What do we do with it? Do we know how to, like what we know and how what we do is two different things. So most times we like the thing about when we know better, we do better, but that hasn't happened because what the thing that we have to use to do better is actually our bodies. And when we have atrophied the connection with our bodies, with our nature, when we are limited in doing better. We don't have the energy to do better. We don't have the vitality to do better, even though we know better. We don't have the stamina. We don't have the courage and the time because we don't feel safe in the body. So these are the things that so knowing and doing then becomes very separate. And so this is why um, this conversation is important to me because it's something that is have been very helpful to me to realize the things that are right in front of me, the things that I am sitting in when I awaken into the deeper layers of it, to the deeper presence of it. It's when people say everything that you need is all it's inside you, and it's like, okay, yes. And so how do we access that if we're not connected to it? How do we use it if we don't have any gas in the tank? So these are ways how we open up, how we can activate the senses, the sensual body, coming back to tenderness, because we're so dull sometimes that just being touched, slowly touched, gently touched, and having that communication, just bringing your full attention into someone touching you. Most times when someone touches you, your loved ones or your kids, you just get numb. They're pulling on you. Your loved one is pulling on you. You're tired. You just don't want to be touched. You don't want to be bothered. That's it. That's what is in a lot of our experiences from day to day because we are just ragged. We're just so tired. Who wants to be bothered that way? But if we can then turn it around and say, hey, let's have some tenderness. Let's see if I can, let's have some purr time. Let's purr. Let's purr together. Let's see where our purr buttons are. Let's see if we can cultivate a purr button. Let's see if we can open up the sensual body. And so it opens up our our energy wells, and so that's how we get the energy freed up in our body and loosened up in our body so we can use it for our own benefit. And that is a very empowering way to tap into your well and to also connect, so that we're still connected with each other, but we start to have a different dialogue. Okay, so I want to close here for today and just come into the heart and take a couple of few deep breaths in the heart and just say thank you, thank you, thank you. And yes, and my wish is for us to keep continuing awaken into our bodies, as our unique selves, as an empowerment, and that this gaining our power, coming into our power is our healing. That when we awaken into our own power, that healing happens as a natural occurrence. There's so many things that heals without us having to get into it with our mental structure, having to roll up our sleeves and go into the darkness, go into the shadows, go into the trauma, go into these. I mean, yes, there's time for that too, but at this point in time, I think I'm really looking at a place where we can come into our own power and let that power do what it does naturally for us, because we are extremely powerful. Our bodies are extremely powerful. We have not created and designed a broken system. Quite the opposite, quite the opposite. But any tool, as we know, is only as good as the person using it. And our consciousness, we are it, we are souls. This is our vehicle, this is our tool, and it is extraordinary, and it depends on how you use it. um and so I just say thank you, and I yeah, and I wish you so much love today. And I wish for us to continue opening up and continue cultivating our own safety, and earning our own self trust by exploring these very simple ways of communicating. And for me, communicating this, sitting and tapping into that higher consciousness, and just sharing what I am seeing in that connection, in that communication with you. So much love. I appreciate you so much. Please share if you have any reflections on this or your own experiences, and especially with the practice of tenderness and purring. Maybe you do purr already. Maybe you do practice a tenderness practice. Please share if you feel so inclined. So much love here. Bye for now.